Hello students, welcome to Ekam IAS Academy Hyderabad. I am Major SPS Oberoi, one of the teaching faculties here. Today I am going to discuss very important topic which is in news about Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. This is in news. Why? Because US is trying to increase its hold in the Indo-Pacific. As we all know, that the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity is a US-led initiative. Okay. So before we go to the lecture proper, a small announcement. Ekam IAS Academy Hyderabad is announcing the start of a new GS Prelims cum Mains Foundation batch that is starting on the 22nd of June 2022. So all the students who are preparing for the UPSC 2022, 23 and 2024 are kindly requested to register for this upcoming long-term batch of Ekam IAS Academy. One more platform where the Ekam IAS Academy is trying to give you a foundational understanding of all the dimensions related to UPSC through a special program called NCERT Foundation Program. So through this program, we are planning to give a foundational learning to all the students who are aspiring to be future bureaucrats. I would suggest a very great opportunity for the students who are preparing for the UPSC 2023 and 2024. A must subscribe course for all the students who are preparing on their own. So for them also, this is a very important. Now before going into the topic proper, let us try to understand certain dimensions related to the international relations that will help us understand why US is getting jittery and trying to establish relationships in the Indo-Pacific. Okay. As you all know, these are the countries which form part of the Indo-Pacific. There are a lot of countries in that. I would suggest the students to make a list of the countries who are part of the Indo-Pacific, right? Now, moving into a subject proper, some concepts, as I told you, before understanding this particular topic, we need to have a clear understanding of certain concepts. The first concept that I would like to cover here is balance of power. Balance of power. See, so for example, there are two countries, country A and country B. Whenever we use the word power in international relations, it has got many connotations. The first could be an economic power, something could be a military power, or it could be a political power also. There are other ways of strategizing power. It could be soft power or it could be hard power. Generally, all these, the economy and the military superpower stature comes under the hard power category, and the political power generally comes under the soft power category. When in political power, we also add the dimension of common cultural landscape. So that is how you can establish a soft power influence also. Now coming to the balance of power, say for example, there are two countries, neighboring countries, country A and country B. They both are equal when it comes to their economic, military and political might. Say in the journey or the evolution of that country, if one country is either economic, military or political power, if it increases, say for example, in this case, the economic or military power of country A has increased more than the country B. So now what will happen is, here a disbalance has got created. So now what country B will do to ensure that the increase in the power quotient of country A is negated, it will try to tie up with country C so that along with country C, it can project a higher power itself as a higher power. So by doing this, by joining hands with country C, what country B is trying to achieve is known as trying to maintain the balance of power. So the balance of power across the globe is a very important dimension of international relations. We all know after 1991, the fall of or the disintegration of USSR, we all know that United States emerged as the sole superpower of the world. But however, this stature of United States, as we all know, is dwindling over a period of time. Now, because the superpower status of the United States is dwindling, in this scenario, US is looking for allies to ensure balance of power in the global order. And who is the country? In this particular scenario, in the example, China happens to be the country A and United States happen to be country B. So with this as a prelude, we move to the another important dimension concept related to international relations is the strategic partnership and alliance. We need to understand these differences to understand why in the first place this Indo-Pacific economic framework for prosperity. See, say for example, there are two countries again, country A, country B. They are trading with each other, they have good relations with each other. Now, over a period of time, they want to augment, they want to deepen their ties. This is when over a period of time, their trade engagement, their political engagement, their economic engagement will deepen over a period of time. So, a stage would come when they will try to go for a deepened relationship under the heading strategic partnership. In this strategic partnership, one needs to understand that neither A is superior or inferior to B or B is superior or inferior to A. Here, the stature of countries is not coming into play, but only the relationship is coming into play. But when it comes to an alliance, that is not the case. When it is an alliance, it has been seen in the past that whenever two countries form an alliance, it is generally an alliance which is offered by the powerful country to a weak country. Now, the reason why this kind of alliance happens is primarily, say for example, in this case, A is the powerful country and B is a weak country. So, A will offer alliance to B with an intention to give him some kind of protection, but at the same time gain what we call in international relations parlance is known as what we call market access. They will try to get market access on priority basis. So this is how they try to gain control over the country B. But when it comes to the first relationship, you saw that they were trading with each other. The trade in a strategic partnership can include trade on security related equipment and defense related equipment also. But however, no country is telling that in case of an eventuality, I will protect you. So strategic partnership, you can say that, is one step behind alliance. So India historically has not signed any alliance partnership with any country in the world. However, US has signed many alliances in the past. Immediately after the Cold War also we saw that lot of alliance partnership had been signed by US with many of the European countries and certain Middle East countries, Asian countries and Southeast Asian countries also. So two dimensions strategic partnership, both countries are capable to defend themselves. They do not need any security protection from each other, but they will engage in trade, economic relations, political relations, everything would be there. But when it comes to alliance, one country is superior to the other country and is offering security protection, which is missing when it comes to strategic partnership. And with this background, now we will try to enter into Indo-Pacific. As you all saw, the Indo-Pacific is an area adjoining the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. In this case, because the IPEF, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity, whether it is Quad, whether it is your AUKUS, all these agreements are somewhere pointing towards an effort of US to establish a stronghold in Indo-Pacific. That we need to understand. Now, but before trying to understand, let us understand how deep is China's hold in the Indo-Pacific. You all know China, one of the most militarily advanced countries in the world, one of the countries which has got very deep pockets. China has got very deep pockets. We all know the the forex reserve of China is around $3 trillion today. Advanced military, very deep pockets, and also it is very deeply integrated in trade with almost all the countries in the Indo-Pacific. So now this is a situation. Say for example, I wrote a statement here, it's all on ASEAN. As we all know, ASEAN is a group of 10 countries which are very deeply integrated economically, trade wise. Now you will be stunned to know the trade between ASEAN and China is to the tune of around $960 plus billion, and India's trade with ASEAN in 21-22 was meagerly $78 billion. So just see, there is so much of disparity in the economic integration of China with ASEAN countries and India with ASEAN countries. One more comparison you can draw. When we talk about US ASEAN countries, here also the relationship is around $400 plus billion of economic engagement. So it means that though it is very high, but in comparison to China, it is not even half of it. So it means that China is deeply integrated with most of the countries in the Indo-Pacific. And its growing maritime hold, as we all know, so many Belt and Road Initiative is one. This Belt and Road Initiative, we also speak about what we also speak about the necklace that we speak about in the international relations that is taught to us is a pearl string of pearls that we talk about, string of pearls. So this is how China is building its maritime hold in the Indo-Pacific. So, and on top of it, China is using its economic might in getting hold of the important ports at the choke points of international waters. So, these are the some of the fears that US is having when it comes to relationship with China. However, one thing we need to understand that though there are positives for China in Indo-Pacific, there are a lot of negatives for China also in Indo-Pacific. If we count the negatives of the China and Indo-Pacific, the first thing that will come to our mind is, firstly, is the dispute of the South China Sea. This is one of the most important disputes that the China is facing in the Indo-Pacific. The dispute over the Senkaku Islands. It has lot of disputes with what you call boundary disputes, maritime boundary disputes, territorial boundary dispute with lot of countries that include Japan, Vietnam, Malaysia, Philippines, Russia. With all these countries in the Indo-Pacific, including India, China has territorial disputes and also maritime disputes. So China also has a positive hold or also has a negative dimension to be taken care of, right? Now, a brief look on India's engagement. As we all know, India has signed a comprehensive economic partnership with whom all in this particular region. We have with Japan, we have with South Korea, we have with Singapore, also we have with Australia. The free trade agreement we have with Australia, we have a free trade agreement with ASEAN, we have a free trade agreement with Thailand. We have two special programs called the Look East policy that was introduced in 1991, the Act East policy that came in 2014. Somewhere this is related to India's engagement, deeper engagement in the Indo-Pacific only. So these are some of the initiatives that India is taking, and we also have lot of country specific engagements here. You should not forget the India's engagement with Australia, countries like Japan, countries like Indonesia, countries like what you call Sri Lanka, very very important, countries like Malaysia, very deeper engagement with Vietnam. So we also have a very strong hold trade. We also have very strong hold on the soft power also in this Indo-Pacific. One of the most important soft power that connects India and the Pacific is your Buddhism, the religion that originated in India and spread to Southeast Asian countries other than the trade relations, Now, see, you all know in 2017, see, I told you balance of power is getting disturbed. China is emerging as a superpower or a regional power in this region, and the influence of US is somewhere getting dwindled. So this is where the balance of power tilt is disbalancing. All the efforts of US in the Indo-Pacific are aimed at ensuring this balance of power. In this direction, in 17, we had the Quad setup. What was Quad? A quadrilateral security dialogue. A quadrilateral, very very important security dialogue. It is not an alliance. And you know that India is a member of Quad. That is the reason why I made a statement. We have not signed any alliance partnership with any country or any grouping historically in the world. This quadrilateral security dialogue is primarily a platform to ensure peace, stability in the Indo-Pacific. Through dialogue, they try to find solution to the various problems that are facing in the Indo-Pacific, and India is a member. Very recently, last year, you know, AUKUS was established. Here, AUKUS is an alliance of the US, UK and Australia, and you see that India is not part of this AUKUS. So in two dimensions that we have seen, one, the dimension of security dialogue where India is a partner in the platform of Quad, which is a grouping of India, Japan, Australia and the United States. See, all these groupings are somewhere trying to reduce the growing influence of China in the Indo-Pacific particularly, and overall in the world economic, political and what you call geostrategic related affairs. Now we come to the topic of today's lecture, that is Indo-Pacific economic framework for prosperity. Somewhere you can see the restlessness of US with the growing economic and military stature of China in the Indo-Pacific. So to counter the deeper engagement of China with Indo-Pacific, this particular program of Indo-Pacific economic framework for prosperity is a US-led initiative for economic partnership. And economic partnership with whom? Economic partnership with the Indo-Pacific countries, which includes India. Other than India, there are dozen over countries which are part of this economic. And one more important platform which is there for the Pacific areas is the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So this partnership also has come into life, and the IPEF has also come into life. It means that US in some way is trying to establish its strongholds in the Indo-Pacific. Very important, it is a grouping of participating countries which are representing 40% of the world GDP. Very, very important. So here they are trying to give a signature to China that half of the world is with us, and we will try to reduce the dependence on your country when it comes to economic self-sufficiency. This is the message they want to give. That is the reason why you see that the focus areas are primarily trade based. They are trying to focus on trade. They are trying to focus on establishing strong supply chains. They are trying to talk about clean energy, decarbonization and infrastructure development, and lastly tax and anti-corruption. So you can see this is purely an economic partnership initiative amongst the participating countries of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. As I told you, the fear is that China's economic prominence is growing by leaps and bounds, and somewhere the US hegemony or its stronghold in the Indo-Pacific is reducing drastically. So this is a very important effort by the United States to control the losing situation in Indo-Pacific. Okay. So with this I come to the end of today's lecture. Please stay tuned for more lectures on these kind of issues on international affairs on the platform of Ekam IAS Academy. Thank you very much.